Okay, welcome everybody. Let's get started. The people are having logistic problems either logging in or getting a parking space. Oh, there, Doug. Thanks, Doug. Um, before we get started, I thought I'd share as opening protocol. Just sometimes I need a boost. I don't know about you guys, but you get all stuck in your rut. Or we get stuck in ruts. So I just want to share this. I don't know if it's a poem, but it's written by this guy named Kobe Yamada, who is he writes children's books as well as being an author about other kind of inspirational matters. So I wanted to just share what he's written. Uh, it's called Believe. Believe in your dreams. Believe in today. Believe that you are loved. Believe that you make a difference. Believe we can build a better world. Believe when others might not. Believe that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Believe that you may be the light for someone else. Believe that the best is yet to come. Believe in each other and believe in yourself. So the idea today is for us to all believe. Okay. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And we do have, now you should have all received testimony from Claire Loprinzi, and I think Claire wanted to share her thoughts today. So is she online? Lanakila? I mean, Puayana.
Letting her in now.
All right. Hello, Claire. You're muted and we can't hear you right now. Claire, can you hear us? I can see your that you're.
Hey,
Hey, hello, Claire.
aloha. I'm just trying to turn on my video.
All right. So
Okay.
as you're turning on your video, your testimony has been shared with all of the members of the authority. As is our custom, so I assume that all of the members have read your testimony, but you'll have 10 minutes, 2 minutes to make your statement.
I'll take the 10.
Yeah, I know. I saw you smile as soon as it said 10. So go ahead. Yeah.
So you read my testimony. I think I'll just share a little deeper. It's like, I know all of us love this Mauna, and I'm really grateful for everything that you all do. I am contacting the liaison I know for the Hawaiian community from BLNR. I know him well. Was his midwife several times. Strong Hawaiian young man. But I think that this is really important, what we're doing and cleaning it up. And just yesterday, going into midnight to, look at, the 20,000 more acres that they want in Pohakaloa. I tie it all in together, whether it's telescopes, whether it's poisoning, whether it's bombing, that what you guys are doing is setting precedent and setting it up that, like even Eisenhower said that, before they broke the aquifer on Kahulawe, is that, that you had to be left in habitable condition. And, the amount that we're, and I know this is not about this, but it is, the US has authorized $842 billion for the Department of Defense, and 20,000 more acres they want up there. And I look at it as all one big pohaku, and all one big Mauna. And many times in the Kapuna meetings, we talked about, these things, and that aquifer of Pohakaloa is on the aquifer of all three. Is Mauna Loa, Mauna Hualalai, and Mauna Loa, and Mauna Wakea. And that's our whole aquifer for this whole Moko Kiawe. And I just want you to know that I'll help out in whatever way I can. You know, I do a lot of bursts and I do a lot of activist work, and it's my life. But this Mauna is the sister of my Mauna, Mujibedu. She's the one on Sicilia and the island straight across. You know, we're the top of Africa too, and they're doing the same thing there. You know, and they've never cleaned up any mess anywhere. And so I think that we have to be due diligence. I mean, just on this and finding out what it is going to take. You know, like I said, when I'm grateful for you. You know, I know that you have I got to turn that off. That you have a lot on your plate, and and uh, and I know you have a lot on your plate, and I commend all of you guys for doing this. But we too have our part of saying, okay, no, we need to know what this decommissioning is, and we have the rights to do this. And if so, anyway, in any way I can help, you know, I'm there, and appreciate all that all of you are doing. So that's just my manal. Yeah. So I'm gonna change. I had one more line in there after working on that other testimony last night till late till I was like 842 billion. And they've never cleaned up. And I've been following this and been, you know, I've been doing this, you know, I'm 70. So, you know, I've been doing this since I sat underneath a desk at school and
All right. So
and
Claire,
brought
can
out
you kind of
food.
summarize and close
So
up?
yeah,
please?
that's it. That's it. Is that, you know, I'm dedicated to this too.
All
So
right.
I'll be in touch with you with what I'm trying to get in working with BLNR to get the stuff that you guys need. And if there's anything else, just ask me. And just lama kai, mahalo nui.
Mahalo.
Okay.
Thank you. So in terms of the minutes, I'm going to make a motion, or I'm going to seek a motion so that we include the words, Claire, that you wanted to reflect on the minutes. But so I want to move to the next topic, which is the approval of the minutes. So Claire sent all of us an email that wants to correct what she said on the minutes. So I'd request a motion to make that amendment in regards to the March 13, 2024 community meeting.
So moved, John.
Okay, can I get a second for that amendment?
Second.
Okay, can we vote on the amendment initially? Anybody opposed to the amendment to include the words that Claire suggested that more accurately reflect what she said? All right, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Now, can we get a motion to approve both of the sets of the minutes of March 13th, 2024 as amended, as well as the March 14th regular meeting?
So moved.
Okay, and there was a second by Pomai, I believe. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Hi, John. Can we have everyone confirm too that they're alone in their room? Everyone who's remote testifying or remote participating. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jordan. Okay, so
Chair, can I just make a comment?
yes,
I just wanted to mahalo Claire for sharing and for making the time to share with us this morning. Mahalo for your continued vigilance in the care and the care for Hawaii, and we appreciate you being able to be here. Mahalo. Have a good day.
thank you. Thank you. Now for the chair's report, I wanted to the first thing we wanted to talk about is that Kamana has because of his being overworked basically in his regular day things, as well as some of his family commitments, has decided to not seek reappointment. So Kamana, I don't know if you want to make a brief statement about your situation.
Yeah, no, I just want to mahalo everyone. It's been great to serve and to try to set up this authority together. it's such a he hana ko'i ke ia no ka lahui no ka mauna wa kea no ka holomua ana ke aloha i ka aina like me ka lelo o ko kako wahi kupuna. So this is a really important initiative and really birthed out of community activism and efforts. So it's been a tremendous honor to serve alongside everyone. I just kind of realized you guys get them, and just with my collective and growing kind of commitments as a director of Center for White Studies and my research lab, um, you know, our nonprofit Wakumo Aina and other things. I just kind of realized and having a new baby was probably the one that made it the most critical. Our daughter was born in October. So maybe I'll potentially be back in the future. I'm not too sure, but I just kind of realized this next year, she's only going to be this age once, and I don't think I'm having any more keiki, so I just want to have this time kind of with her. And happy that Neil Hannes will be able to. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I think he's going up for confirmation today, and I think he'll be a good replacement. And yeah, I'm always standing for the Mauna and looking upon Mauna Wakea, so I will still be involved, but just not in this capacity.
Mahalo, and mahalo for all that you've done. Like I tell people, what they see in the board meeting or this authority meeting is just like the tip of what everybody's doing on the side in terms of working on committees and other work. So I appreciate all that Kamanda that you've done, and I'm sure all of the other members appreciate all that you've done. But when you said you got them, I was just joking when I gave my little thing about believe in others, because we wish we had the same optimism as you that we all got them. We hope we got them, but
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just say that, John. Thank you for your leadership, and the vice chairs and everyone. I mean, it's a tremendous lift to set up an authority. Again, this hasn't been done for Hawaii in probably a generation. The Water Commission itself that I served on for 2 terms. I mean, that was made with the Constitution in 1978. The rules don't get in place until I think 1987. So that was 9 years just setting that up. And if you think about what we've been able to accomplish just in whatever it's been, a year and a half, 2 years, it's a huge lift, John. And so you're right. I mean, it's hard. I think unless it's one of those things. Unless you're in the midst of it and understand how much commitment and time it takes, it's easy to overlook. But not many people in Hawaii have set up an authority like we've been a part of. So so I think sharing that with the community and letting them know we have the right intentions and intent to make even better outcomes, I think is really critical.
mahalo. Thank you.
Mahalo, Kamana. Appreciate all you've done.
Thank you for all the work you've done, your INA-based commitment to the INA and VI.
Mahalo ia oe e kamana, he kanaka viva ole he kamanaka mai kai no oe. Nui ke aloha ia oe a me ko ohana. You definitely have been in many, many ways the ko'i, the ads that has continued to collide and to chisel the parts of the va'a that need to have attention be given to. And so mahalo nui for that.
Yeah, I was
Kia
just going to say this, the opportunity to work with you, particularly at the beginning as we were putting this authority together, really meaningful, and all the reasons that you gave for needing to leave us to our own devices, clearly really important.
Yeah, mahalo, Kamana.
Larakila, you and
I only,
yourself on mute. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Nui ka mahalo ya oi.
Mahalo ka mahalo.
Mana. It's been
My only regret is I won't be able to get to know you better, but hopefully in the future our paths will cross again. But thank you all for your help and spirit and hope for us.
Mahalo nui ka mana. It's always been I was always honored to be able to work by your side and continue to. I hope we can continue to call on you and your wisdom to kako and support in many ways. And yola no ke kia iwai, ke kia imauna, mahalo nui, aloha ina.
So, as Kamana indicated, the confirmation hearing for his replacement, Neil Hannes, who probably most of you, if not all of you, know from previous workings, is scheduled for this afternoon at 1 o'clock. My belief is that, Kamana, you probably served to June 30th. And assuming that Neil gets confirmed, he would start with us on July 1st. But if he gets confirmed today, my hope is that we can include him in many of our discussions even before July 1st, if he's willing. Certain things because of attorney-client privilege just matters. He may not be able to attend all of the executive sessions and stuff like that. But in terms of giving him notice and letting him know what's going on, let's try to give him what I think is a running start and kind of include him in a lot of our discussions and keep him informed. So with that, again, come on, thank you. But this is not your last meeting, so we'll count on you to gotta crack the whip every once in a while.
Mahalo. Yeah. And thank you everybody for the kind words and yeah, deep mahalo. Yeah, I feeling wow, maybe I should resign more often. Hear all the good things about no. No, mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the next agenda item, I wanted to, all of us on the authority have met him, but I wanted to introduce our new executive director who started last Wednesday, John DeFries. John is in person at the meeting. And I would give John a few minutes to kind of introduce himself more to members of the public and others to kind of understand who John is and where he's coming from. So, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I start, I too wanted to extend my aloha to Kamana. When Neil Hannes and I were growing up as crosstown rivals in high school, there was a television show called Kung Fu. And there was this young student, and one of the tests in front of the master was the master would have his palm open with pebbles in it. And the test was whether the student could snatch the pebbles before the master closed his hands. And I know how you value Neil as one of your many mentors here, but when I heard about this change, it took me back to that image of a time when you, with the many mentors that you had, were able to assert your mastery by passing each of the tests. And your body of work speaks for itself. The other thing I would add, the question I have is, will you remain as president of Aina Aloha Economic Futures?
Yeah, so that's another commitment I didn't even mention. Yes, I'm still with Aina Aloha Economic Futures and staying as president, trying to push that forward.
Okay, well, at some point, I'll be circling to see you about that and focus on that. Just prior to leaving the Tourism Authority, we initiated a template and a framework built around your toolkit. And I want to talk to you about that. But thank you again for everything that you've done and will continue to do. somewhere in the minutes going back to February 29, the public has access to a brief resume that talks about the different job experiences I've had. With the time I have this morning, I just want to touch on a couple of personal personal information that is not typically reflected in a resume. I've been a resident, my wife and I, of Kona for the last 33 years. From the time I was a child, I knew that Kona would be my home as an adult. Every vacation growing up, Christmas, summer, Easter, my parents would ship us out of Oahu to Honolulu. And so early on, I knew that Kona would be home. I was born and raised in Waikiki, about 2 blocks from the beach, a half block from the zoo. The irony of growing up in the 50s and early 60s in Waikiki is, oddly enough, I feel that neighborhood at that time when I drive through Keaukaha today. That same kind of neighborly feeling, warm feeling, multi-ethnic neighborhood, strong Hawaiian family presence was a big part of that. And like many people throughout our islands, we fished the waters in Waikiki every week. And so growing up, I understood Waikiki first as a source of food. And the elders in our family understood the medicinal value in being able to create remedies from limu and vana and those things. So, albeit I just spent the last 3 years at the Hawaii Tourism Authority, places like Waikiki I value as a source of food, a source of medicine, and then a place of recreation in that order. And that stems from kind of the upbringing we had. I will admit that I've recognized over time, as you grow up in business, there's a tendency to grow away from those same values that you learned back then. For some odd reason, I decided that my first day of work here at the authority was going to be in Merry Monarch Week. I didn't even think about it. But arriving into Hilo, when Hilo is on a very intense, high level, culturally and spiritually, was actually a real gift. Being around that many practitioners and that concentration of kumu, again, took me back to my childhood where constantly in our home were aunties who were steeped in hula. Auntie Maiki Ayu, Auntie Lani Kalama, and Auntie Emma DeFries. And so being around that energy last week took me back to that place. You know, I want to also take this time to thank every applicant that applied to become the executive director. What we have in common is a desire to help. And at a deeper level, a sense that there is a calling, that the mountain needs help, and that we can help. And I don't know the identities of the other applicants, but I just want to extend my mahalo and aloha to them. Also to the board, the rigor with which you handled the process. I can't thank you enough. I learned a lot from it. and grateful in the end to have been selected. Later this morning, I'll speak about two other key positions that are of value to building out this team, and look forward to doing that later in the agenda. I don't have children of my own. I'm the oldest of four boys, one girl. When the girl came 16 years after me, she kind of ruined our basketball team, but she clearly became, as if you witness women basketball in the last months, you'll understand that my sister might have been the best basketball athlete in the family anyway. But that's pretty much it. And again, on the website, highlights of my career in business can be found, and I'm certainly available to talk to anyone who has any interest to go deeper. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you.
Mahalo. We look forward to working, all of us look forward to working alongside of you. Like Kamana said, we have a pretty daunting task, but I think together, all of us together, with the community, we'll be able to get to where we got to get to. So mahalo, John.
Wait, Mr. Chair, one more thing. I have to thank Poena because when people see me now in airports and they come to me because we're the authority in managing their expectations, the authority is a 12-member board dedicated themselves. Poena, as of last week Wednesday, me, and Act 255. And the rest of it is a shell, right? And so the task in front of us is to fill out and design what that shell will look like. And so I can't thank Poena enough because, and you, Mr. Chair, for holding this thing together with wire and duct tape and putting up with the bureaucratic process, which is state government. And there's a reason it's that way, but this authority wouldn't be where it is today if it wasn't for the day-to-day work that you and Poena in particular have been putting into this. So thank you.
Mahalo. Mahalo. And mahalo to Poena too. So with that, I'm gonna just move and briefly just give everybody a report on in late March, I received the email from the National Science Foundation. And what they've done is that they've informed us that they're proceeding with their Section 106 process. This was like a mass email, so it's not something special to me, but they informed us that they were proceeding with the Section 106 process. And they were soliciting if anyone wants to be a consulting person in the process, that you could email consultingparty.tmt@nsf.gov, consultingparty.tmt@nsf.gov to request to be a consulting party. And the email says that they are considering everyone that is applying, and that they're scrubbing their list basically of consulting parties. They also mentioned that they are planning to have their first series of Section 106 meetings during the spring, summer of 2024 or later, based upon planning needs. I've had no other communication with them, but just wanted to share with the broader community that NSF is indicating that they are considering people that wish to be consulting parties, as well as the fact that they intend to start the hearing process maybe in the spring or summer of this year or later. So I have nothing further. I don't have any further information other than what's in this mass email, but so everyone should just be aware of that fact. So with that, I'm gonna move to the next item, which is governance. We really working with John, we'll be putting together a more structured organization, kind of how we think this organization should be created, I guess, and what that governance structure should look like. But with that, I'm gonna move to the administration item and ask that John give a report, his executive director report, and one of the items is what he mentioned earlier, what we're doing to kind of build out the organization.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Prior to my arrival at the authority, the process of job posting occurred for two key positions. One, the administrative services officer, the other, a project director. As of April 5, there are 13 applicants for the administrative services officer. And as of April 3, there are 6 applicants for the project director. The project director posting was closed. A request was submitted on April 8. And so the interview process and vetting process will take place for both the project director and not all 13 applicants are moving forward into the interview process, but anywhere from a third to a half will, after a review of their written qualifications. I will say that in my case, as an example, from the time of my first interview to being confirmed and selected was roughly 4 months. And it is a deliberate and lengthy process. So relative to the ASO position, in addition to accepting these applications and now moving into the interview phase for some of them, we've also initiated and in process a temporary hire that could put a administrative person in place, my estimate, in about 10 days. And that will allow us to continue the vetting and interview process for the candidates that have applied. The final paperwork on that, on our end, on that temporary hire was submitted on Monday. The state is reviewing it now. They have a vetting process of their own. And so we're not in a position to identify that person at this time, but I would estimate that we will be issuing a notice on that in about 10 days, give or take a day or two. Excited by the quality of the applicants across the board, and especially excited about the fact that the temporary hire, once we're able to disclose their identity, will also be a big help, especially in the area that Member Kudo and his long-term transition team is working on. Ben, this will not replace the need for a contractor, but being able to bring in somebody with this kind of administrative background is going to really help the work that lays ahead. So look forward to hearing once that temporary hire is confirmed. You certainly will be notified before any public statement is made. Thank you.
Okay. Before I open it up, I don't know if anyone has questions, but one of the challenges that all of us are going to have is that because we had no employees other than Poena when we, for the first year, many of you had to actually became staffers of the agency. of the authority and had to get involved in the hiring process and everything. Now that we're building up a staff, part of the challenge is that we're going to have to get back into the idea of that now we're authority members. And in my mind and in my experience, board members have very different responsibilities from the management, John and his group, right? So we're going to have to kind of put ourselves back into this. Unfortunately, we're still going to have to be part of the staff because we haven't built it out, but we have to slowly start transitioning to understanding that our job as authority members is going to be to determine policy and decide on some of the big questions. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, the way I've seen it that works best is we leave that to management and we can evaluate what they do, but we're not going to be involved in the day-to-day management of operations. We as a group are supposed to determine the big questions and strategy and path that we want to take. But I just bring that up as a sort of kind of not caution, but just it's hard to give up what we're doing, yet it was a lot of work. But just know that I think in a good operating organization, that the roles of authority board members is very different from the roles of authority management, and starting with John, right? So anyway, I open it up to any questions to John that anyone might have. Okay, seeing none. The next item is the transition working group, and I know that Ben has met with the transition working group and asked him to provide all of you with a status of the transition working group.
Yeah, the transition group has been formed other than the designee from the Board of Regents. In light of the transition of Alapaki resigning and Gabe Lee becoming the pro tem chair, I've talked and spoken with Chair Lee about appointing the one person from the Board of Regents to serve on the long-term transition working group, and he has taken under consideration our requests and probably will be doing it shortly. You should also know that the Board of Regents slot for Alapaki, which is vacated, was governor nominated Mr. Miyahira, who I don't know, from Hilo, and I believe he's up for confirmation, hopefully this session, to fill that slot. Generally, since Mauna Kea is on the Big Island, generally the chair will lean toward, not guarantee, but lean toward a Big Island resident to be on the committee, but I don't really know. We are scheduled to meet this month, however, the working group, and one of the problems we have is the staffing of the working group, because we have literally thousands of pages of documents provided by the University of Hawaii inventory that was provided to us about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And to go through all of that and analyze and determine the assignability or the desirability of that particular asset or liability represented by the document is a really heavy task. So I've asked John to see getting a consultant on board to help us with the analysis and putting a transition plan together for approval by this board as well as the Board of Regents. And it'll probably take at least a year, if not longer, to go through that process. But the hiring process is very heavily regulated in terms of the rules on procurement. And that's what Mr. DeFries was mentioning about engaging probably an assistant to assist us with that process. Otherwise, the working group might be stalled as a result of that. Of course, we can do it ourselves, as John said, but John's not paying me by the way, so that's a lot of work, John. So anyway, we can do it, but it's gonna
Turn
take a
in, turn in your time sheet.
Yeah,
and Paul is retired, so he has a lot of time to go through the thousands of documents. So he's willing to do that. But anyway, that's where our group is right now. We're kind of stalled until we get a consultant on board. Meanwhile, we'll go through the top most heavy documents, which are the documents on leases and permits. There are about 130 of them. And so we'll start to go through a few of those just to get our feet wet to know what we're looking at and how we should go about analyzing the documents and those kind of factors. So that's it.
Paul.
Thanks, Ben. You know, we started with the leases already. I started reading through them, man. My head's spinning. So we just got to get that work done.
Mahalo to both of you for all of your work. Ben, I'm gonna collect money, all the pay that all of these members are getting for the authority. They have said that they're willing to donate that pay from the authority to you. So 12 times 0 is still 0, but you still you have 12 times as much as you had before. Okay, any questions for Ben? Any other questions? Thank you. In terms of finance, there's nothing to report. We're still waiting on the legislature. I think our funding for the next fiscal year is still intact, but as you know, the legislature is still going through the final month of processes that have to be done. So we'll have more to report at the next meeting. With that, Greg, I'm gonna turn it over to Greg to give his executive director report.
I'm sorry, can I ask a quick question to Ben? I just thought of, as you guys go through the leases, are we gonna get, is there a way that we're able to see your assessment, or is that gonna be a report, or is this,
Yeah. So, Lenikita, the way we're going to approach it is that we're going to be reviewing the documents that are really manifestations of either an asset or a liability of the university right now. And there are certain procedures that we'll follow with regard to whether, number one, we actually want to receive that or not. There's some things that I don't think we want to be responsible for after 2028. But those items that we want to receive title on, we're going to look at the documents and determine if there are any conditions, third-party requirements, third-party consents, penalties, bars, or anything else that prevents it from being assigned or whatever. We're going to write all that down on a matrix. That's what I need the consultant to do. And then after we go through all of the documents, which is including real property, licenses, all that stuff, we'll put together what is called a transition plan. And that's a plan where the working group is recommending to the respective bodies what to do with each of the items, whether to reject it, whether to accept it, whether to start implementing whatever the follow through might be, whether to pay the penalty for the assignment, those kind of things. That's what we will be determining and recommending. We don't make any decisions. We just make recommendations to the boards. And then each respective board, the Board of Regents and this board and DLNR as well, will be looking at it to determine the acceptability of the transfer plan, make any changes. It might go through a couple iterations, and then we'll finalize, hopefully, the transition plan, approve it, bless it, and then we get into what is called the implementation phase, which is to start, doing all the things that the plan has approved. And that's the process that we're going through right now.
Awesome, thank you for that, Mahalo.
Thank you. Thanks for the question and thanks for your response. Greg?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Before I get started on our operations report, just want to welcome John to the process. Been looking forward to being able to have a counterpart to work with very closely. Look forward to all the work ahead of us. Also want to just reinforce the strong sentiments expressed in appreciation for Kamana's service. I've known Kamana for a while, going back to commitment schools, and one thing I've always appreciated is your willingness, Kamana, to step into leadership. Thank you for your time, and hopefully, I know you will not be less busy. You're gonna be quite busy with everything else you got going on. But thank you.
Great. Mahalo.
So kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of things, my report this month, I want to update you folks on several things, some of which I've brought before you folks in the past. The first item is on the status report on the underground fuel storage tank replacement project. As reported previously, our Department of Health permit requires that the university decommission 3 underground fuel storage tanks located at Halepohaku by July 2028. The current underground tanks, which are comprised of a 4,000-gallon gasoline tank, a separate 2,000-gallon gasoline tank, and a 12,000-gallon diesel tank, need to be replaced with replacement fuel storage capacity to support operations on Mauna Kea consistent with the state's policy. Our original plan was to replace this capacity with a single 10,000 gallon dual storage tank for gas and diesel. Based on recent meetings with the Mauna Kea observatories, along with our CMS operations staff, we are now working on, with our engineering consultants, to rescope the project based on Mauna Kea Observatory is giving us projected fuel requirements in the future, as well as some operating changes that we feel we can make at Halepohaku, which combined would reduce the size and footprint for a new above ground storage and dispensing station. So the plan we are currently working on would be to reduce the footprint to 2 3,000-gallon tanks, 1 each for gas and diesel. Our plan is to present a revised design and cost estimate to the Mauna Kea observatories in June for their approval, budget approval. And so once the budget is approved, we'll start preparing the detailed project proposal documents for our internal reviews, which includes the Environment Committee, Kahuku Mauna Kea Management Board, and the Mauna Kea Stewardship Oversight Authority. We'll also start preparing for the permitting phase of the project. So our goal is to get started on this work this summer. On the decommissioning front, work was scheduled to start next week on the decommissioning of Hokukea, pending approval of some remaining pre-construction submittals that we were still waiting on from the contractor. Literally a half an hour before I came to this meeting, we just learned this morning, that the contractor is not going to be ready to start next week. So we're going to have to push back the start date, probably at least a week. Most of the contractor's submittals have been submitted and approved by our UH Hilo Facilities group who are managing the project. But they need at least a week to review and approve their outstanding submittals, some of which have yet to be completed. So we have to wait for that. As you folks know, we prepared a press release, which we shared with Chair Komeiji. We're going to now need to revise that announcement given the schedule change. We have a project team meeting this afternoon to figure out when the realistic start date might be. With the Caltech submillimeter observatory, CSO plans to restart their decommissioning work next week. They're going to be mobilizing or remobilizing their equipment. So there will be some equipment being transported up the Mauna next week. And work is scheduled to commence on April 24th. Goodfellow Brothers, who's the contractor for CSO, estimates that the deconstruction and site stabilization process will be completed in July. Thereafter, Caltech is required under our decommissioning subplan to monitor the site for flora and fauna repopulation for a period of 3 years. Caltech prepared a news release that was shared with Chair Komeiji and Board Member Matsuda. I believe it was supposed to be released yesterday, but I did not actually see that, so I'm not sure when it will be released. Regarding our cultural resources program, Kahukumana met last on May 7th, and we briefed them on the status of the follow-up work we want to do on the inventory of cultural artifacts that I discussed with you folks at your last meeting. CMS continues to work on a scope of work to hire a consultant who can help us with this project and to update our cultural resource management actions. At your last meeting, the MKSOA board indicated interest in being involved in the process, which we fully support and welcome. So unless otherwise requested, I'll work with Executive Director DeFries to identify who from MKSOA will represent the authority on the project so we can begin to coordinate with them once the project comes together. Once again, we've not made much progress on developing the scope of work, much less get close to trying to hire a consultant. So I'll keep John apprised of where we are as that comes about. Ben covered the long-term transfer working group, so I'll skip over that. The only thing I will say is, as Ben indicated, Michael Miyakura has been appointed by Governor Green to replace Alapaki on the Regents. I don't know if when Mr. Mihira's confirmation hearing is scheduled or will be scheduled. The one thing that is also common or typically the practice is the Hawaii Island Regents also sit as ex officio members on the Mauna Kea Management Board. So I'm assuming Mr. Mihira will fill Alapaki's role on the Mauna Kea Management Board along with Wayne Higaki. And then lastly, with our outreach and education programs, our resource management and outreach team have hosted several groups for service days in the last month, including the University of Nations. There was a Cal State campus that was visiting, I can't recall the exact school. Kamehameha Schools brought up a group of students last week, and then there have been several community volunteer days as well. The next upcoming event that I'm familiar with is they will be hosting the leadership and faculty from the UH Hilo Kipuka program. I believe that is next week. But they've been so busy, I've been unable to keep track of all the groups that they've been working with. And then again, on the outreach and education front, in 2019, as Ben Kudo knows, Center for Mauna Kea Stewardship was directed by the Regents to expand the educational programming being offered at the Visitor Information Station and at Halepohaku in collaboration with Imiloa. So there have been a number of things that have been in process that we've been working on since then. A lot of the expanded educational outreach programming that we're doing and that we're hosting is in support of that. Or as a result of that resolution that the Regents passed. But one of the things that we've also been working on is updating the exhibit space at the Visitor Information Station. So new wall murals were designed with input from consultants with museum display experience and Imiloa. Those are in the process of being implemented or installed. New outdoor exhibits are also being designed through a program facilitated by Imiloa this past fall, working with high school students from several charter schools. we're still awaiting their proposal for those new outdoor exhibits. So I don't know exactly what they've come up with yet. So with that, that concludes my operations report for the month. Happy to take any questions.
Questions on any of the matters that Greg just covered? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Greg. I don't, unless someone else sees the need, I don't see the need for us to go into executive session at this meeting, but solicit anyone that feels that we should go into executive session. If not, the announcements are, our next meeting is on May 9th at 10 o'clock. We also are planning to have another community talk story session, date and time and location to be determined. We're going to try to figure out a additional way to kind of publicize when we come up with a date and time, so that there's more awareness within the community about the location. We're probably going to try to move out of the DLNR building for this next meeting, someplace in Hilo still though. But we'll try to figure out a way to additionally publicize when we're going to have that community talk story session. And the last thing is that the confirmation hearings, as all of you know, for Pomai, Lanakila, and Kalehua, scheduled for Tuesday at 9. I'm planning to, as an individual, submit testimony in support of the 3, and would, if any of the others of you would like to submit testimony, you have to go to the legislature's homepage and there's instructions about how to submit testimony. All right, any other announcements? If not, if we could get a motion to adjourn. Okay, second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
All right.
All right, thanks, everybody. Thanks. We'll see all of you next month.
Okay,
Mahalo.
aloha. We all